G'day guys and gal. Something that's a real head scratcher to many of us is why the traitor legions actually embrace chaos. After all, the Primarchs were supposed to be geniuses, with Space Marines themselves being smart as hell. Surely they would have been like, eternal damnation, not my vibe. Well, the truth is virtually every single traitor legion was either tricked, heavily pressured, or outright forced to sell their souls to hell. Mortarion was trapped into Nurgle's realm and was turbo-slapped with space aids until he surrendered. Angron was turned into a demon without his consent. Horus joined Chaos after getting shanked with a Chaos knife that would have killed him if he didn't relent. Magnus was manipulated to hell by Titsnitch to fall. It goes on. The only faction, other than the Wordbearers, who themselves are also tricked to a degree, that wholeheartedly embraced Chaos, even after seeing it for what it really was, were the Emperor's Children. So why do they fall the hardest? And no, it wasn't just because Fulgrim picked up a penis-shaped demon sword. Before we get started, the first thing people see when they look at you is your face. While you can't exactly choose your face, you can make it the best it can be by using a skincare routine, ideally from today's sponsor, Geology. Your acne-ridden, pale, flushed, oily skin isn't just unfortunate genetics, it's actually mostly skin hygiene. Thus, pretty much all of these unwanted face glitches can be easily minimized or outright eliminated with a skincare routine. However, choosing what to use or how to use it can be a bit of a head scratcher for us blokes. Hence, Geology takes out the guesswork by getting you to fill out a quick survey before then sending a custom skincare routine to your doorstep with easy to follow instructions. I've been using Geology for years now and my skin has never looked better. I really used to struggle with oily skin and dark circles. Now I have absolutely zero insecurities about those. Geology isn't just skincare though, it's a variety of hygiene products such as shampoos, body washes, and deodorants, all of which use a variety of natural, easy on the body ingredients. So to get a massive 70% off your first skincare package, as well as 30% off an additional product of your choice, then use my link and code Majorkill70. I promise you will not regret at least giving it a go. Cheers to Geology for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over the disturbing fall of the Emperor's Children Legion in detail, discussing why it was a lot more than just Fulgrim playing with a demon sword, and how they have since become by far the most depraved and horrific Chaos Legion. As a bonus, we can also discuss some of the most satisfying deaths and humiliations of the most wanky, depraved Space Marines from this legion. Let's get into it. The first thing you gotta understand about the Emperor's Children is that their Legion philosophy, that being to seek perfection, can be interpreted in two different ways, which is why you have fucking legends like Saul Tarvitz, Rylanor, and Solomon Demeter, as well as total wankers like Lucius, Eidolon, and Marius. The basic philosophy was that the Emperor's Children should always strive for self-improvement, to be the best they can be, worthy of the title of their legion, and to be a shining example of what others should aspire to be like. As a whole, this is a big reason as to why the Emperor's Children were always trying to be the best warriors, the best artists, the best at sucking these nuts. This philosophy was universal for the legion. However, for Emperor's Children like Saul, this meant being the best version of himself, not being better or superior to others. The act of seeking perfection but accepting you will never truly achieve it, thus bettering yourself along the way, was what it meant to be an Emperor's Children. Saul took pride in himself and his legion, but he didn't let pride become arrogance or vanity. Then you have Lucius, whose goal was not to self-improve necessarily, but to be better than everyone else. He sought perfection with the goal and belief that he would actually achieve it, and until he did, he was insecure and needed to constantly prove himself against others. He too was proud, but in a wanky, arrogant sort of way. Whenever he won, he would boast. Whenever he lost, he would be a salty piece of shit about it and would get really humiliated, basically always wanting to rematch whoever bested him to try prove he was actually better. Now the issue is that Fulgrim subscribed to both of these interpretations, which is why the dickhead Eidolon was Lord Commander despite being a fucking wanker. Fulgrim wanted to be this humble paragon of self-improvement to inspire people to be the best version of themselves, but he was also deeply insecure and always felt the need to prove his superiority over others. Thus he would show favor to the chillers, like how he made Rylanor the Ancient of Rights and Keeper of the Legion's Soul, whilst also happily promoting dickheads like Julius and Eidolon. To further prove this, the other Lord Commander of the Emperor's Children was Vespasian, and he was like Saul, steadfast, loyal, honorable. So Fulgrim was obviously in two minds about the interpretation of his legion's philosophy. That is the crux of the issue, a divide within the legion that almost no other legion possessed. In most cases prior to the Horus Heresy, the loyalist elements of the traitor legions were good friends with the ones that would betray them. Garviel Loken had nothing but friendship and respect for Abaddon for most of their lives, but the loyalists of the Emperor's Children saw the future traitors as wankers, whilst the future traitors saw the loyalists as weak and lacking perfection. Now a lot of people point towards Fulgrim picking up the Layer Blade as the beginning beginning of the fall, but it started a lot earlier than that. After all, you put nearly any other Primarch in Fulgrim's position, and they wouldn't have picked up the sword, nor would they let it take their heart if they did. Chaos uses many methods to worm its way into your soul. For Fulgrim, his arrogance and insecurity, basically his narcissism, was the open invite Slaanesh needed. Some big examples of Fulgrim being a douche prior to the Len Campaign was when he deliberately chose a very painful and wasteful method of bringing a planet into compliance to try prove his superiority over the other legions, just because Leman Russ made a half-hearted challenge. Basically, he arrived at a human-occupied world that was pretty cool with joining the Imperium, so as long as the Imperium treated them with respect. However, Fulgrim wanted to conquer it whilst only using a handful of legionnaires, so he antagonized the fuck out of parts of the planet to trigger a civil war, then took a massive shit on the world's ancient order of protectors, resulting in mass destruction and a lot of avoidable deaths, where if he was just to arrive with his full legion strength, engage in standard diplomacy, and then allowed the bureaucrats to take over and integrate the world. It would have been bloodless, but that wouldn't have been cool or worthy of history, unlike conquering a world with only a squad of warriors. The Len Campaign was another example of his arrogance and desire to prove himself. He attacked the Xeno world without letting the Imperial army elements know, wishing to take the glory for himself. In turn, a fuckload of his legionnaires died that didn't have to. He also wanted to take it quickly, thus more of his sons died. When he found the Laren temple with the Layer Blade within it, there was a shitload of red flags. Firstly, the lizard people were having a massive orgy in the temple, not defending it, whilst the blade itself was clearly of Xeno-Macan origin. It didn't force him to pick it up. He did so because he thought he could do whatever he wanted. When the blade whispered to him, he originally suspected it could be an external force, but then decided that he was too mentally strong and willful for an outsider to influence him like this. Hence he just assumed the demonic whispers were his subconscious. The sword didn't make Fulgrim an arrogant, insecure asshole, it tilted the balance. Previously, Fulgrim had two sides to him. The side that was close brothers with Ferrus Manus and happily engaged in banter and brotherhood. The side of him that honoured Vespasian, Rylanor and Saul. The side that was reliable, loyal and honourable. Then there was the side that he thought he was better than everyone else and was insecure because his legion was one of the smallest due to Traz in the Infinite stealing their gene seed and the lunar cults giving the rest of the gene seed aids. The two sides balanced each other out, making Fulgrim seem like a bit of a pompous wanker, but generally well liked by his brothers, with his legion being respected, if not seen as a bit too prideful. However, with the sword, he embraced his arrogance and shed his honor and humility. How did this flow onto his legion? Well, if 30% of them were the good kind, 30% were the wanky kind, and 40% of them were in between and just wanted to emulate and please Fulgrim, then suddenly 70% were now embracing their arrogance and superiority. It was like a snowball effect after that. Fabius being given the green light to invent hectic drugs that made the Emperor's children act like depraved maniacs, thus allowing the influence of Slaanesh to creep in. None of the Emperor's children being scolded for being wanky. Fulgrim rewarding those who sucked his dick the hardest and validated his arrogance. The Legion had not abandoned their philosophy, it just got twisted more and more. Then when the traitors revealed themselves and massacred the loyalist elements of the Emperor's children, they also killed the last of their Legion's honor. The noble side of their philosophy was quite literally killed with bladed bolter. Now there was nothing to remind Fulgrim or his traitorous sons what they had become or how far they had fallen. They felt entitled to everything, including the deepest, greatest sensations. Fulgrim began refusing to enact Legion protocol and stopped caring about traditions. Hence his legions just started doing whatever the fuck they wanted. Some of them literally merged with large speaker systems and became noise marines. Some started jacking off with sandpaper, whilst others carved their flesh with blade to feel the sensation of pain and pleasure at the same time. They were always chasing the next high, which completely overruled any moral or ethical issue they ever faced. Going deeper into depravity was a challenge to overcome for them, not something they had to stop and consider. They were just chasing that fucking dragon, the dragon being perfection, or as an intellectual might say, dragging these balls on your face. Another big factor to the Emperor's children's massive fall was their utter devotion to Fulgrim. Save for maybe Lorgar, no other legion gargled their Primarch's balls harder than the Emperor's children. Fulgrim had a strong Primarch aura and was literally responsible for saving the Legion, as they were borderline extinct when he was found, with his DNA allowing for creation of new gene seed, thus saving the Legion. This meant that the Emperor's children's #1 goal was to please Fulgrim and get his approval. They would see Eidolon as Lord Commander, hence emulate him. They would see Saul Tarvitz as a line officer and seek to avoid following his path. When they began falling, they saw that Fulgrim's favoured sons underwent the most transformation and corruption, hence they would try and match that as well. Ironically, Fulgrim would abandon his legion at the first chance he got post-heresy, leaving them with severe daddy issues and absolutely zero direction. Hence, they've actually become one of the weakest traitor legions, fracturing into multiple random warbands that don't have much cohesion. Seriously though, when was the last time you heard of an Emperor's Children warlord tearing through Imperial space, or the Imperium under threat from the 3rd Legion? Fucking never. The Death Guard almost took down Ultramar. Can you imagine the Emperor's Children even trying? GW have sort of written themselves into a corner here. They can't suddenly make the Legion a new unified threat since it goes against their very core of what it means to drink the entire jug of Chaos Kool-Aid. At least until Fulgrim comes back. So overall, it was their already flawed interpretation of their philosophy, combined with Fulgrim's own narcissism, as well as his bad choices regarding the Layer Blade, coupled with their intense desire to please Daddy, that took the Emperor's Children from the most noble, favoured legion of the Emperor himself, to become the most depraved, reviled degenerates that even the other traitor legions look down on. No other four comes even close to the contrast of pre-heresy and post-heresy Emperor's Children. Now for a bit of a bonus, let's talk about the deaths and humiliations of the main characters in the Emperor's Children. Marius Varosian, the original Noise Marine, was killed by an Iron Hand that he had previously deafened with his noise gun. The Iron Hand's deafness made him immune to the Noise Marine's weapons, hence he was able to line up a shot and end the degenerate's life. Lucius was killed in a fair duel by the Raven Guard swordsman Nakonai Sharakin, who saw Lucius as a rabid dog that needed to be put down rather than a genuine opponent. Lucius never got to have his rematch after being revived, which still grates on him to this very day. Eidolon had his head cut off by Fulgrim in a fit of rage, humiliating him in front of the Legion. Although he got his head reattached and was revived, he's kind of mentally retarded now. Also, he's ugly as fuck. Julius Caesarion was able to ascend to become a demon prince, however was recently banished by a bunch of Iron Hands. So overall, each of the main Emperor's Children traitors have either been killed or severely humiliated in their lifetime, including Fulgrim after Raylanor blew his ass up. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be, where we have not only a bunch of Slaanesh-approved Battle Mace 40 million hentai, but also live-action nude cosplays and hand-drawn Warhammer artworks. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more depraved content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.